I'd like to call the Board of Light and Power meeting to order. Danielle, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Crum?
Here.
Director Knoth?
Here.
Director Poliak?
Here.
Director Welling?
Here.
Chairperson Westbrook?
Here. Next item on the agenda is approving the meeting agenda.
Before we get there, I'd like to make a recommendation that we remove item 6C from the agenda, the BLP union labor agreement.
6C from the meeting agenda.
Motion.
Motion.
Okay.
Questions for Rob about removal?
What's he removing?
The labor agreement. The union has not voted on it at this time.
Hearing none. Danielle, would you call the roll, please?
Crum?
Yes.
Knoth?
Yes.
Poliak?
Yes.
Welling?
Yes.
Westbrook?
Yes. And I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion.
Danielle, would you call the roll?
Crum?
Yes.
Knoth?
Yes.
Poliak?
Yes.
Welling?
Yes.
Westbrook?
Yes. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the time of the meeting where we can hear comments from the general public. We ask that each commenter provide their name and address and any affiliated organization that they may be representing for the record. Respectfully ask that comments are limited to 3 minutes each. Austin's going to keep time for public comments tonight. Mr.
Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. Good evening. I'd like to once again speak about community solar, and tonight a little bit about risks and potential mitigation. And one of the risks I've been hearing from the pilots is glare. And we know where the panels are going to be, where the array is going to be. It's very close to the intersection of the the 927 and the other runway, whatever that is. And I know there's information out there that if you don't have a control tower, you don't need to do a glare study. But when you actually research it in depth, you'll find out on various AI that the FAA really wants to see glare studies done, especially when they're close to the runways. And there's a tool that's been out there for, I think, well over a decade, SGHAT, which is the Solar Glare Hazard Analysis tool. I think Sandia came up with it, or one of the other national labs. It's been since sold to some private company, but it's out there. It can do it. The pilots don't want to see that red glare, right? That flash that temporarily makes you go, whoa. Just like you see, well, maybe not just like, but what us older folks are now faced with when we get bright LCD or LED lights on cars. You see them at night, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, it takes just a little bit of recovery, and pilots don't always have a little bit of a recovery time. I looked up the cost of it. I got numbers between 5 and 18,000, depending on whether it's done for more of an internal study or whether it's a official submission to the FAA with a little bit of iteration. So I would really like to see a glare study done for our pilots and for the city, for our insurance policies, etc. The other item I'd like to just mention again is this subscriber reimbursement. Right now it's fixed, 6.385, something like that, cents per kilowatt hour. That puts all the risk on the subscriber. I don't think that's fair. I think we need to relook at that. Maybe 5 years at a fixed rate, but then some kind of indexed reimbursement. We keep hearing again and again and again, and we keep seeing that the price of electricity is going up. It's not going down. I think on your recent PPA, or maybe not the recent one, but maybe 2 or 3 ago, all of a sudden we had that delay, right? Because it went up. It went up in cost, and it's going to keep happening. So I would really encourage the board to look into it and, okay. And
Thank you, Jim. Next item is to approve tonight's consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
second.
Rob, anything you want to highlight on the KPIs or otherwise?
Just another business as usual month.
Bob? Danielle, would you call the roll, please?
Crump,
Yes.
Knopf,
Yes.
Poliak,
Yes.
Welling,
Yes.
Westbrook.
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve the single purchase order in the amount of $221,162?
Make the motion.
Second.
Second.
I'll give you a little background on that. There's obviously stuff in the packet. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but this is actually for, I know we've been spending a lot of money with HDR and doing studies. We're actually getting to the point where we're doing work. So I think if you remember, we talked about this at the joint meeting between city and the BLP. This is the North Channel area. So that would be kind of I'll say an outfall where we used to clean out the ponds for units 1 and 2. So this is actually the engineering work to develop the plan, contract documents, et cetera, and construction administration for HDR to put all that together to actually go out and clean this up. So it'll be followed up with, once they get all that put together and put out for bid, a contractor coming back. But this is another one of these where we're not studying something, we're doing something. So this is the engineering proposal to do that work. So once again, if you think about where the North Channel is, I think it's important because I think when the public hears North Channel, they think like, oh, the North Channel of the Grand River or the South Channel. No, it's just that little, I'll say, ditch or outfall from units 1 and 2 impoundment. So I don't want anybody to think, oh man, we're talking about digging out the Grand River, the North Channel. No, we're talking about the North Channel in relation to just Harbor Island. Does that make sense? So I wanted to make that distinction so anybody listening or thinking about it in the public knows what we're actually talking about.
To take advantage of the low water levels at this time.
Yeah, this is one of them where I think we can take advantage of the low water levels as well as move the ball forward. And also, we keep talking about a holistic approach in Harbor Island, making sure we're thinking about all the different things and so on and so forth. This, just like the coal yard cleanup, kind of lends itself to a single project where it's kind of defined boundaries, et cetera. And it's one of these things that's just, we kind of know what we need to do, check the box and keep moving. Obviously, there'll be more for when we get information back on the RAA, like we talked about at the joint meeting.
That's mostly CCR.
This is all CCR.
That's what I thought.
100% DCR.
Yep, just wanted to throw
So
that
it's a
out.
100% BLP funded project.
What's the turnaround time on this engineering?
I think there was a timeline in there, and I think they gave us 2 timelines. I think one was an aggressive one, and one was a more of a conservative one. If you remember, Derek talked about having to do wetland permits, and that's kind of the big question mark. How long is Eagle going to take to review this and get the information back? But I think if best case scenario, they would be working like this. More realistic, probably 6 months after that. So there's going to be somewhere in there, but start the engineering now. And then, as you guys know, we can't push a rope with Eagle. So we'll submit everything, answer all their questions, and go through that process. But it's not really the CCR side of things that regulations are worried about. It's more dealing with the fact that, this is a wetland and we have to be in a wetland, and that takes another level of permits.
Danielle, would you call the roll, please?
Crump,
Yes.
Knopf,
Yes.
Poliak,
Yes.
Welling,
Yes.
Westbrook.
Yes. Can I get a motion to review and approve the community solar lease documents?
Make the motion.
Motion second.
So there's 2 documents in your packet through legal review. Actually, I get to 3. It's a handout there that is one of the things we're planning on handing out to the bill stuffer to kind of announce and kick off this project. So I'll start and kind of talk about the project, where we're at, and how we're moving forward. So if it's approved tonight, we will open up the doors for the lease agreements. As we know, we got to get a third of it sold. We're parallel pathing a bunch of stuff right now. Obviously, we're working on the FAA permit. We've submitted it, and we're working through that. We're also gathering all the documents to go to the Planning Commission. So we're parallel pathing a lot of permitting things as well as trying to sell them. Because if we don't parallel path things, we don't have that a linear timeline, right? Because we need to have these back online by the end of 27, or we'll miss out on that 40% tax incentive that
We need to fast track.
Yep. So we have to parallel track it. So the one is just like I said, the infographic or document we're planning to give out to the public to help them understand that. We're planning on doing that information. We're going to go ahead and have a section on our website to explain this and have people have that information there. We're planning to do a press release where I'm going to go talk on the probably morning radio shows here locally just to try to get the information out to try to kick off that process. So we got a lot of little things in the fire for that. The other documents that are in there, if you look at the next one there, this is what we call the lease application. So what we're expecting people to do is submit this lease application with their payment, and that way we can go back and review and make sure that someone's not oversubscribing, because we want to make sure that someone's not buying more than they can really use. So we go verify they're a customer, all that kind of stuff. And so that's, like they said, the beginning, kind of the worksheet, name, address, that type of stuff. And then the next bigger document will be the actual lease agreement that we'll sign that actually talks about the terms of the 20-year lease. So like we've talked about in the past, it is a 20-year lease. We are dividing this project into 1,000 shares. So it's a 300 kW or 300,000 watts. So 1,000 shares will be a 300 watts. The cost is $570 per share. Like I said, it's a 20-year guarantee on the lease with a fixed payback period of 6.385 cents per kilowatt hour credit on their bill. It covers all the things we talked about before about how you can, what happens if you move. You're able to move that to your new home if it's inside the BLP service territory, or you can leave it there with your home and the new homeowner could buy it or rent or whatever you want to do. If you're moving off the system, you have the ability to donate that to a nonprofit that's on our service territory. So it really is a 20-year lease that you are signing when you get into that. Like I said, we've gone through all of it with that, with the attorney, reviewed it. I think those are probably the big highlights there. With that, I guess I'll entertain any questions you may have about the actual legal structure of what we're doing.
I don't know how to frame it, but when you talk about these solar panels and customers leasing the panels, if they're, and you talk about things that might come up in the future, a little bit of insurance. What I guess prevents customer from any future liability if something were to happen down the road?
So I'm trying to make sure I frame this or answer your question. So what
Did I say it clear enough?
So I was trying to think while you were talking. The idea here is the customers is buying into this, and when you say leasing a solar panel, I want to be clear, it's a share, right? You don't actually own a panel. So if something happens, I'm not going to say Todd owns panel 137. Todd owns a share of it, and he gets that proportional share of the output. So it limits them from the fact that if one panel gets destroyed that you supposedly leased, you're not out all your investment, right? You're just buying into that. So the good thing there is, I guess the BLP wears a lot of that maintenance risk, right? We're going to have to go out and repair things. We're going to have to inspect things. And that is boiled into the cost, right? We tried to figure out the best we could. I say at I'll say a non-complicated math formula, just figure out what do we think our project costs are going to be over this life. The good news is we've baked in warranties from the manufacturer. So we have warranties from the manufacturer for outputs and panels. We have warranties from the manufacturer on the structural components. And we have a 20-year warranty on the inverters. So the good news is if something happens, we should be able to pick up the phone and call the manufacturer and get support that way. So that kind of gives some insurance there. We will hold insurance on this for general liability, meaning if little Timmy goes out there and trips and cuts his head and they want to sue somebody, the BLP will have insurance to cover that. Was that what your concern? Or?
Exactly. It's like, okay, so you have 1,000 shares out there. Now, is that, let's say I were to buy a share into it. I worry about that kind of liability out there. If somebody were to have an accident or get injured and, all of a sudden there's a class action suit, that's where we're at in society. What's going to protect me from, that? Am I going to be named right as with the borderline power because I'm a shareholder?
No, we own it. The BLP will own it and the BLP will have the insurance. So the leasee or leaseor would not be the one on the hook, right? It's a BLP asset. It's on our books. We own it. You're just contracting with us to give you the offtake. Does that make sense?
Well, yep.
So
when I read it, I
Yep.
just, it's all lawyer. It's like a boilerplate
It is.
lawyer. And, I read it and it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah, we're not actually transferring any ownership. In fact, I think if you almost read it, it almost sounds like, well, what am I getting for you? And it's done that way on purpose, that you have the rights to the energy that's produced. But the BLP, in the good and the bad, holds the ownership and holds I'll say the cards there.
A difference between a commercial client that wants to buy versus a citizen?
Nope. Any BLP customer, same rate, same payback, same et cetera. I really think to get this off the ground, I'm hoping that we will get some commercial and industrial support. So.
I had a question about the RECs. So the RECs all remain with the BLP, right? Some of the commercial customers all have session we'd make too.
Yes. I think what you're asking is, so
I mean, if we have SPI Pharma or somebody in town that wants to buy above and beyond this project a lot more because they have goals and targets and have to retire RECs, I mean, required to by their customers.
So the problem with RECs, and I try not to get too far in the weeds, but if we have 1,000 shares, I can't set up 1,000 MyRec accounts. So in Michigan, they have a MyRec database. That's where you put your RECs in, and that's where you retire them, et cetera. So we're saying we'll keep the RECs, and we're going to retire them. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't retire them, just like we can do with other customers, like the Green Energy Rider. They buy green energy from us. We retire RECs for that purpose. So I can have different line items I retire every year. So if there was someone that came just in your example, SPI Pharma says, hey, I want to buy 50 kW and will you retire the RECs in our name? Yes, we could work something like that out. But I can't make RECs transfer to every single person because it wouldn't work that way. But I think if there was someone that was large
share ownership.
Yes, someone large that maybe had those type of things, we could retire RECs probably in their name under our account because they're all going to show up in the BLP account, if that makes sense.
Danielle, would you call the roll, please?
Crum,
Yes.
Knoth,
Yes.
Poliak,
Yeah.
Welling,
Yes.
Westbrook.
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve the fiscal year 2027 Grand Haven Board of Light and Power budget, please?
Thanks for the motion.
Second.
We have two resolutions tonight to approve the fiscal year 27 budget and the fiscal year 27 capital plan, 5-year capital plan. And so I just put together a little overview. Since the last meeting, we've only had one change, and that is we increased the capital plan for the solar project after we received the quotes for what it was going to cost. Other than that, I've got no questions and no changes. This will take effect July 1st if approved. Total operating sales, we have about 15,000 meters. And for fiscal year 27, we're looking at about 271,830 kilowatt hour, 830,000 kilowatt hours, 38,504.66 in charges. That's $14.16 on average. And I did break it out by residential, commercial, industrial, and municipal, and streetlights on here. Do you want me to read all that? Or? So, thank you.
You good?
On the rates, there's some additional charges. We do still have the environmental remediation fee. And we're looking at that every year to see if we need to keep that, but I think we need at least one more year to put into our liability for those costs for the island. The low income energy assistance, I did forget to update this. It's actually a maximum of $1.50 per meter that we need to have set aside for the low income customers if they qualify to use it. We do that through the Salvation Army. We've talked about that before. We will look at what we have left in the fund and then decide what the rate is going to be. We believe it's going to be about 70 cents. So that is higher than what we're billing now, which I believe is 41 cents. But again, that's not in stone yet. We haven't been through we hadn't gotten through the heating season, so we're evaluating what we used through the heating season. And then the energy waste reduction costs that we will stay the same. These were what they were last year. There is no other adjustments to the base rates. As we talked before, the purchase power is about 70%. I think this year about 68% of operating expenses, and we budgeted that at $20,330,870. I did include a graph, a pie chart that tells you what portion is renewable, what portion is capacity. So that's just interesting to look at and see what portion of our power is that. And the departmental expenses, those are about 20% of our operating expenses, and we do have 40 FTEs. We've budgeted a 3% cost of living increase, 1% payroll equity. We don't have the union contract approved, but what the changes we made in that contract, if they go through, will meet that is in the budget. We are asking for one additional FTE in the tree trimming department this year. And we did budget one extra FTE for a couple of retirements this year that we believe we may have some overlap in people. So that will go off next year. But, the legacy pension expense, we still are paying more than what we're required to pay. Planning on getting that 100% funded by 2030, but it won't be ever. Could be 110, could it be 9? It just depends on how the year goes for investments and things like that. We were 93% funded at the end of the last year. That report will come in July. It comes in July of every year, so make sure you ask to know where we're funded this year. The energy optimization, we're doing that a little bit differently now that we're outsourced that program, so we did not budget for that in our expenses. And then the other expenses, which are maintenance, insurance, technology, and all the other things that go along with running a business. Depreciation, about $2,420,000. Transfer to the city, 5% of our revenue, $1,925,000. So that's a chunk. And we still do have our 2001 bond that we're paying on. So we have the interest on that. We also have interest revenue coming in, which is actually higher. I budgeted that at $600,000 for the coming year. We have $15 million in treasury bonds that are earning interest. And I always like to remind you that our bond is at 1.58. Wish that. We all wish we had that. That was a good deal. Our capital plan, it hadn't changed other than the updating the solar project. So about $600,000 in vehicle replacements, $1,175,000 in blankets, which are poles and transformers and all that stuff, and circuit rebuilds that Austin's planning about $2.8 million, and then the community solar project. On the balance sheet, we will be contributing to MPIA this year, which we always do. We will not be, I did put MPPA on here, but that's not needed, so that won't happen this year. We have enough money with MPPA. We'll have a $2.5 million payment on the bond that we will need to make. And then again, adding $1 million of the revenue to the asset liability obligation. I'm estimating the ending cash to be about 26,500,000. One of the things I did add on the budget summary is 4 years of cash flow outside of this coming year. And if you look into the details, it's kind of small, but it's very small. But no, you were there, down. So here's the 20, in the first part of the green, you can see the 26, it's actually 26,563,186, which is just an estimate, but, and then where that goes year to year. If we do the solar project, if we do generation, that yellow 17 million is my estimate on what we might need to bond. So that's what that is, to keep our cash within the limits, the high and low limit that we have. So I know that in some people's head, that 18 million sticks out that we did have as our minimum cash reserve at one point, but we did redo that cash reserve policy, and we put in a minimum and a maximum based on credit ratings. So the minimum and maximum will change slightly, and but we could go down to that minimum of about 11 million. But all of this will change, as you know, based on a lot of things. If our income is higher than we thought it would be, it could change significantly. So every year, that's something that can be looked at. That was just a guess. And then the capital plan that you've already seen also. So are there any questions? Again, we have 2 resolutions.
Looks good and
Thank you.
straightforward, yes.
Good. Glad.
We had a motion to approve the budget, motioned and seconded. If we want to just take the roll on that one, that would be great.
Crum,
Yes.
Knopf,
Yes.
Poliak,
Yes.
Welling,
Yes.
Westbrook.
Yes. And then the second motion would be to approve the fiscal year 2027 capital plan.
Motion.
Motion second. Questions for the team on capital plan? Already reviewed it.
I think, not to derail the motion here, but yeah, I think Lynn did a great job of adding that cash flow analysis on the bottom. So that kind of helps you guys understand that almost 49 or $50 million we're talking about. I think 25 million of that is if we do some local generation. You got to put a place saver in there. We got to start telling our people what we're thinking, what we're doing. And that's 17 million is Lynn's best guess of how to get that glide path together. Well, obviously that will change as we go, but to me, that's a good thing to be looking at and thinking about where are we headed with our checking account balance, right? Do we have enough money? Are we trending in the right direction, the wrong direction, et cetera? So I didn't mean to disrail it, but I think that's a really good thing she added this year. And I think it's a really useful tool for forward planning and thinking for the board.
Would you call the roll, please?
Crum,
Yes.
Knopf,
Yes.
Poliak,
Yes.
Westbrook.
Yes. Chairman's report. Danielle, if you want to give a little update on the general manager's annual performance review.
So we typically hold this in June every year because all of our employee pay rate changes take effect July 1st. I would propose that we meet just an hour earlier before your June 18th board meeting. Saves you from having to come in an extra day. So I would, if everyone is available, suggest we do that at 5 o'clock on June 18th. And then I would also propose the same format as last year. If you recall, we switched it from a paper-based system and we used the Microsoft Forms. I thought that was very efficient and very clean. It did all the math for us. And so if you guys liked that format, I would propose we use that again this year.
Good.
It for me, it works.
when are you planning to email that information out?
I'm hoping to do it tomorrow morning if I have time. If not, it will be Tuesday. All right, no rush.
Is an hour enough, I guess is my only question, to do the review, go into closed session, come out?
I can't remember.
Or either.
If you would feel more,
It's quick. Okay.
I think it was a lot quicker because if you remember before we were using the Microsoft Forms, everyone had to call out their number. Like question 1, what'd you have? We had 5 numbers.
Yes.
This time I can just pull it up on the screen and say average of 3.5 or whatever it might be. Yep.
We'll make it really quick, right?
Other business.
I have a couple of things I'd like to share with the board. As mentioned earlier, congratulations to Lynn. This is her last meeting with us, so her last day is June 5. We have a gentleman hired, and his name is Andrew, and his first day will be the 28th. So we have a little bit of overlap, so Lynn can try to do as much of a brain dump as she can and let the learning begin. The other thing I have is, as we've been talking, we talked about logos and a few things like that. I did put on your table there one of the BLP swags we got with our 2026 logo for our 130th anniversary. I do have here a sticker we're going to put on the trucks. So we did a bigger 250 logo with our 130th anniversary logo built into it. We're going to put on all of our trucks for the year. And we do have scheduled for September 12th, a 130th anniversary. It's a Saturday celebration at Lynn Sherwood Stadium. So we'll celebrate Public Power Week a little early because it's normally in October, but we'll tie that in with our 130th celebration downtown. We'll have plenty of things for the kids and family event to kind of come out, bounce houses, a hot dog cart, those types of things, cornhole games. So mark your calendars, more details to come. We're at the high level planning stages right now, but it's something that I think staff here and I think the board is very happy and proud of the fact that we've got 130 years of service to this community, and that's something that not a lot of people can say, and so it's something to celebrate. So I want to share that with our community and wanted to do it in a time of the year where as close as we could to Public Power Week, but when the weather's still good and people want to come outside and have a good time with us. So like I said, more details to come.
Lynn, thank you for everything you've done over the years. It's been a fantastic 5 years working with you. I can't say enough nice things about you. I hope you're time here. Thank you. I just wanted to comment the new building. I drove by, I saw the new signs are up. I'm not sure if it's nice. It's on Beach Street. It's a nice visible place. New signs are up. Building looks nice. I see some landscaping stuff happening. So we're kind of keeping up and improving the building already. So thanks to the staff. This is a second opportunity for comments from the public. We ask that each commenter provide their name and address for any affiliated organization that they may be representing for the record. 3-minute time. Austin's keeping time. Any closing statements? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
You ever getting opposed, huh?